So hello again. This is your lonely old lady talking to you again from her home. It's been raining quite a bit out here. You know, every time I decide I want to come out here and work in my garden, it rains. So it hasn't rained for a couple of days now, and I was going to rototill it last night, but I got home from work and I wasn't feeling well. I caught a cold or something and it was really bothering me, and it turned out I had a fever when I got home, and so that's why I felt so bad. So I did not do anything. So this morning I got up and decided I was going to, at 7 o'clock is the earliest time you can make noise out here. So I decided charge at 7 I was going to be out here because it wasn't raining. So I came out and I looked at it, let the dogs out, no wet. So then I went in and I got everything ready to rototill the garden. I had to get breakfast and eat breakfast so that I had some nourishment, and had to do a few things and relax a little bit and get myself dressed for the morning. And by the time I did all that, I came out and the sidewalks are wet. I'm going, no rain, no rain, no rain. I have to do this. This is about the latest I can do and be able to get a harvest. The harvest is going to be late if I don't get a freeze. It'll probably not be able to harvest stuff till much before August, which won't get a freeze, but into September, the end of September, you can get a freeze, and that'll freeze everything, and then you won't be able to get any veggies. So I had already gone to the store and I had gotten some plants, and I need to get some more plants because this is a pretty good sized garden. But this morning, it turned out when the sidewalks are wet, it had rained enough to make the sidewalks wet, but not enough to really drench everything. So I really quickly got my rototiller out and hooked it all up, and I got my garden rototilled, and it actually looks a lot better. If I can get the camera down where you can see it, it looks much better than it did before. So this is kind of the way my garden is looking now, and it's looks a lot smoother, and most of the weeds are out of it. I did rototill it and got it sort of smooth. When I rototill, I always rototill it through about 3 or 4 times to go each direction at least twice, and it gets it nice and smooth. And then I raked it out this morning. I had enough energy to do that, and rototilling doesn't take a lot of energy. It's just a little bit of strength to keep the rototiller from running away from you. But so I've got that all basically done, and most of the weeds out, and as I plant I can pull the ones that are in my way. So I'm going to start planting this morning, and I'm going to put the camera down and see if perhaps I can show you some of the things that I'm doing. The first plants I'm going to plant are zucchini plants, and they usually grow not tall, but they spread out quite a bit, so I have to allow plenty of room. So I usually put those in first, and I put them usually at the front of my garden, and then I plant other things behind it. And I've got a fairly good sized garden, but I don't think I'm going to get a lot of plants this year, so I'm going to spread them out a little bit more so that I have more space between the rows. I have a smaller rototiller that I can use to get the weeds out, and that way I don't have to pull them one at a time. So I am going to go ahead and set my camera up and see if I can start planting, and I can maybe plant a couple of plants while on film. Okay, the camera's set up, and I'm not sure how much you're going to see. Probably see more of me than anything else, and I have to talk kind of loud, which people are probably going to think I'm kind of crazy. What is that old lady doing? But this old lady is trying to get her garden started. So I'm going to start out with these zucchini plants, and they're pretty easy. They're small plants. They're just kind of like seedlings, and the first one I'm going to put right about here, because I know that they're going to spread out quite a bit when they do grow. So I don't know how much of this you're going to actually see. I'm digging a hole, and I have to dig the hole bigger than the plant itself. I'll have to test it in a minute to make sure that it's also not too deep because I don't want to bury the whole plant. I just want to bury the roots and the root ball. And so this is the first one. And what I do is I have these little tags that come with the garden, and I'm going to put these with it so I know what plants are planted where, because I'm just not savvy enough to know what they all look like as seedlings. So the first one, these are kind of soft because they've been pretty wet, so I'm going to try to get these plants out and plant the root ball, which is the hole I made is just about right for it. So I'm going to, and the root ball has fertilizers in that with it, and I don't sit here and when I do this, I don't sit there and pound the ground down really solid around them, just enough to hold the plant up, because I want those roots to be able to spread out and the plant to be able to grow. So then I'm going to put my little tag here to let me know that this is what I planted here. And then I'm going to go over a little ways over, because I want to have plenty of room between these plants. So I'm going to go ahead and continue planting my zucchini plants. So I'm going to go ahead and continue planting my zucchini plants, and then I'll come back to you when I start planting my tomato plants. They're going to be the next ones to go into my garden. And so for right now, I'm going to kind of sign off and be back with you in a little bit when I get ready to plant the next thing. Okay, I got the zucchini plants planted. Now I'm going to go to the tomato plants. The tomato plants that I bought are called indeterminates, which means those plants can get just about any size. There's no limitation to the size. So because of that, I have to plant them quite a distance apart and quite a distance from the last plants. So the directions say 36 inches. So I got my trusty yardstick out, and that's a yard is, voila, 36 inches. So I have my yardstick so that I can measure it, which is really important. If I don't get that much distance between them, then I'm not going to be able to weed them very well. And I do want to have enough distance to get between the rows so that I can weed them, hopefully with my small rototiller. So I'm going to go and start planting these now and see how things go with them. I have my kneeler. This is a soft kneeler that I kneel on so I don't do anything to hurt my knees or anything. The planting shouldn't be painful. So I'm going to make sure that I have at least 36 inches there. And so then I'm going to kneel down now and get cracking on these tomato plants. Okay, so it's been about an hour and a half, and I've gotten, let's see, there's a row of zucchini, and at the very end of it I planted a basil plant that I didn't know that I had gotten. It was put in the store in another place, which is why I don't like getting plants at Walmart, because people put things wherever they want to, and then you pick up what you think is 2 or 3 plants of the same thing, and you've got something in there that's different. Here, with the tomato cages, are my tomato plants. They are 36 inches apart, which right now doesn't look like it's quite enough, but we'll see when it comes to weeding it how well I can get my small rototiller is only about 6 inches wide, so it should be fine getting it. And the very end of it is a lone plant by itself, and that's my one lone cucumber plant here. And I have to get at least 2 more cucumber plants and some green beans. So today, even though it might rain and I might not get them in today, I'm going to go over to probably Lowe's or to Home Depot, which has a little bit better gardening section than Walmart has, and seeing if I can get a couple more cucumber plants and get my green bean plants as well. And at the very end, we'll walk down there a little bit. At the very end, I have planted a little bit of color at the end of my garden, just in front of the rock wall. Last year I had chrysanthemums in there, and they died off in the winter for some reason. They were there for about 2 years. So this year I planted Asiatic lilies, which are really a pretty lily. So I'm kind of hoping that they'll take root and grow, but they were also bought from Walmart, who doesn't take really good care of their plants, and one of them was pretty much root bound. So I'm kind of hoping that with some water, and I'm going to wait just a little bit and see if it starts raining. Otherwise, if it doesn't in an hour or so, or by the time I get back from Lowe's or wherever I'm going to get my plants, and so it might hold off until then, because it held off rain so I could rototill this garden. So anyway, so there's quite a bit of garden left, and I don't always use this whole garden for myself because it's a pretty good sized garden. But by the time I plant another row of my cucumbers and another row of bean plants, there should be enough for me, possibly my daughter-in-law, and definitely I need to have enough to take to the food pantry. I always take some of my produce to the food pantry when I harvest it. So for now, I'll go ahead for Lowe's and see if I can find some cucumber plants and some green bean plants to plant in here.